Hi everyone, I'm Charlie, founder of Indiv Yoga and the voice of the British Airways Yoga and Mindfulness on Board programme. And today I'm going to talk you through finger line counting and the 4 main techniques. Finger line counting isn't so much a type of meditation or meditation technique as it is a tool devised by the ancient Brahmins or Hindu priests thousands of years ago for counting in meditation. Counting was a necessity for keeping track of the number of breaths or mantra repetitions that had passed, and using their hands was the simplest thing that someone sitting in meditation can use to keep count without having to move from their sitting position. So, if you didn't have your mala mantra beads, or perhaps they hadn't even been invented yet, you at least had your hand to keep count. If you want to know everything there is to know about mala mantra beads, including what they have to do with poop, then you can click on my video up here. In the meantime, we're not sure when, but perhaps more than 4,000 years ago, the number 108 became a very sacred and auspicious number in India, especially among the Brahmins. There are many reasons why the number 108 is so special in India, which I won't go into now, but if you're interested, then you can click on the link in the description below to read all about them. The point is that the aim in meditation was to reach 108 repetitions, whether it was counting breaths or more likely 108 repetitions of a mantra. There are 2 traditional methods of finger line counting, and then 2 other ways that I'll show you that are also very popular today. The time period when the 2 traditional finger line counting techniques began is unclear, as is the philosophical, spiritual or practical differences between them, or how they came about. So first of all, you'd always be using your right hand traditionally to do the finger line counting, and your thumb is what's going to tap the different parts or pads of the fingers to count your rounds. Each finger has 3 pads or sections between the joints and creases, and that's where your thumb is going to come into contact for each count. So the first method is what I like to call the snail method, and you'll see why, because if you look at the image and the direction of the numbers from 1 to 12, it looks like the shape of a snail. So your thumb is going to start counting the number 1 by touching the bottom pad of the index finger, and let's say that you're repeating the mantra Om, for instance. For 2, it will then move to the middle pad of the index finger, for 3, the top pad, etc. So you wouldn't do it as fast as this, but just for me to show you how, you'd move from 1 to the number 12. It would look like this. Om, 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 om. The second well-known method is called the meru method. The meru refers to the home of the gods and is symbolized in many ways in India. The middle finger is the strongest finger in yogic philosophy, and the bottom and middle pad of the middle finger represents the meru. So in this method, they are not touched, meaning that you'll be counting to the number 10, not 12. So as you can see in the image, you'll start with your thumb touching the middle pad of the ring finger for number 1, moving down to the bottom pad of the ring finger for number 2, then working its way up the little finger along the top of the fingers and then down the index finger to reach the number 10. So again, if we're using the mantra Om, it would look like this. Om, 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 Om. It might be worth me mentioning at this point that when people are using this method in meditation, they're not holding their hands up in the air like I am to show you. The hand is resting on their thigh or knee as usual, and they're softly moving the thumb of the right hand, the different pads or points as they're counting their breaths or mantras. Nowadays, especially out of India, I find a lot of people are using these last 2 methods because they're easier. So we have the horizontal method, where you start counting from the little finger along the top pads, then along the middle pads, and then finally the 4 bottom pads. So it would look like this. Om, 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 om. Now you have another popular method, which I call the vertical method, which is counting down the fingers instead of horizontally along the top of them. So again, starting at the top of the little finger as number 1, number 2, the middle pad, and number 3, the bottom pad, and continuing from the top pad of each finger down to the middle and then the bottom, ending at the bottom pad of the index finger like this. om, 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 om. All these methods, except for the meru method, count to 12. So one hand equals 12 repetitions, and in order to get to 108 repetitions, you have to do 9 hands. So sometimes people will use their left hand to count how many rounds of the right hand that have been done. For instance, if you're using the horizontal method, once you've done your 12 repetitions using the right hand, your left thumb will touch the top pad of the left little finger. Once you've done your second lot of 12 pads with the right hand, the left thumb will then move to the top pad of the ring finger to signify that you've done 2 full rounds of the right hand. And when it finally reaches the 9th pad, which is in the horizontal method, which will be the bottom pad of the little finger, then the meditator knows that they've reached 108 repetitions. It might sound confusing at first, but once you get the hang of it, you get used to it, and using your fingers gives you something tactile to help you stay in the moment and focused on your repetitions. You're less likely to get distracted during meditation if you're having to stay focused on counting and on moving your fingers. Alternatively, you can use mala mantra beads, which are arguably easier, but if you don't have them with you, then this is an alternative. Also, it doesn't matter what technique you use, or if you just come up with a different pattern or direction that suits you better. There's no right or wrong when it comes to using your fingers to help you with repetitions in meditation. The important thing is that you're meditating, not even whether you do 108 repetitions or not. So here are the 4 of them again together, in case you want to screenshot the image. Okay, well, that's everything I think you need to know to get on with finger line counting, whether for counting your breath, mantras, or perhaps affirmations. Let me know what you thought of the video, how you get along, any experiences you've had with this in the comments below, and let me know if you have any suggestions for other videos you'd like me to make. In the meantime, please hit the subscribe button below so that you can keep up to date with future videos, and don't forget to follow me on my Indiv Yoga pages on Facebook and Instagram. See you soon. Namaste.